Hi there, viewers. I know that I'm a day late on the day I promised the lore video for GYLT. I ended up getting a cold in the summer. It couldn't be any more miserable, but I still recorded. I had recorded lines yesterday, but I sounded too sick, so I had to wait till today to change up some parts of the lines. And with that, I'll even tell you that I'm cooking up something for Helldivers 2 again for this next week's video. And so with that, let's continue with the video. Hi there, viewers. I am back as promised. I'm here today to talk about the lore on GYLT. And there is no good lore video without a hint of theories in it. And yes, for those of you who did not finish the game, there will be spoilers because I have collected everything there is to collect and read everything there is to read. So I'll be breaking down my fightings for you today. This will be a multiple part series, but today I want to address the major things, like your location in the game, the relationship between the girls, and just how they got there, etc. But just as a warning, there are sensitive topics such as bullying and depression. So let's get to it. So as we know, we are a girl named Sally looking for her younger cousin Emily. We know that we are stuck in what looks like the town of Bethelwood, but we learn that this town is not the Bethelwood the girls are familiar with, but what looks like the original Bethelwood that has long since ceased to exist because of a quote-unquote accident. But before I get too ahead of myself, we need to understand that this place is not in our reality, but in a reality of its own, almost like a domain. We learned this and things about the previous victims that got stuck in here before by these books located around the game. These books are the final thoughts of the previous victim of this nightmare, and each book only has a single entry of the person's thoughts manifested into a single book. There are two types per se of books, the ones we get from Emily's thoughts and withered books. There are a single withered book to each clay person's final thoughts before they are unalived by these monsters. That means there are 10 withered books in total. And from these books, we learn that the town the girls are from is a rebuilt town of Bethelwood. The town in-game is what looks like the original Bethelwood that had an accident long ago. From the books, we learned that the original town had a big mining community because there was this private company owner named Tom. He opened his business here in Bethelwood and hired the townspeople to mine at the top of the mountain, making the workers take a cable car to work every day. In the book labeled Here's the Truth, there are legends by the native people who lived in the valley that said the mountain itself holds a cursed power. This power is exactly what Tom was looking for. So he hired these people to dig in the mountain to look for this power, and he hired scientists to study any findings. In the withered book labeled We Did This, the miners stumble across this strange stone. They dubbed it the red quartz, claiming it felt like an ancient forgotten god having otherworldly energetic properties. In the same book, we learned that the native people say that this mountain feeds off the fear of broken people who are really depressed, showing them their greatest fears to torment them. And anyone caught in the trap gets their life force taken out and turned into red quartz. And the victim's body becomes the clay statues that we see around the map. As you may ask how Emily, a child, was able to survive for so long, from what we can see, Emily has been hiding in the vents and in safe rooms, eating snacks to fight off famine. And with that, she's only been surviving in the same building, never leaving the building, and reading books to pass the time. So you might be wondering how Emily got stuck here in the first place. Well, Emily's book, we learned that she used to live in Bethelwood when she was much smaller, she and her and Sally. But she moved away and came back years later after her grandpa passed. Sally and Emily were the best of friends when they were young, but upon returning, Sally was older and she made her own friends at school. Whereas Emily, the new kid, had no friends. Not only did Emily have no friends, but all the other kids were mean to her. They would joke and laugh about her behind her back. They'd even say she smelled. Emily, of course, was hurt by this. She was sad. But in one of her books, she said she was afraid. Afraid of the older kids from school. They did more than call her names. They would shove her in lockers, trip her during lunch, threaten her, even outright just strike her, and no one ever helped her. Not her parents, not the teachers, not even the person she thought she was closest with, Sally. Sally just watched as they bullied Emily. Emily felt that she was invisible to the adults, and that she was the only thing the kids could see. They would always stare and laugh at her as Emily kept smiling despite her tears falling, hoping that someone would be her friend. In her sadness, she ran away and tried to disappear, falling into the mountain's trap. And these are the events that led the start of the game. Emily has been missing for 2 months, and everyone has stopped looking for her. Everyone except Sally, who seems to be carrying some sense of guilt. And as luck would have it, or if it was karma, with Emily missing, the mean kids turn their sights on Sally, making her crash her bike at the start of the game and taking the cable cart into what looks like the old Bethelwood. Seeing how it seems like there's some sort of requirement, you might be wondering how Sally got here. I have 2 possible theories on how Sally got herself in this mess. The first is that this trap is simply one-sided. You can get in, but you can't get out. But if this theory is to be true, I feel like a lot more people would go missing if all of it takes is deep depression. So here's the question: is why were the parents not victims, assuming they were heartbroken over their missing child? So I want to say this theory is off the table. The second theory I thought of was that no one could get in or out without the mountain letting them in. From one of the Withered books, we learn that this place watches you and learns your own personal fears. Not only the monsters are unique to each victim, but is different per person, making a personalized hellhole to feed off the fear. But if theory 2 is to be true, then Sally got trapped here because her and Emily's fears align, thus making her cross the barrier that we see at the start of the game. The 2 girls share the same trauma. The drawings of monsters and the meme messages written on the walls are the exact same for both girls. They both hate the school because this is where the bullying takes place. Sally is the perfect person, perhaps the only person, to be able to enter the domain and save Emily. Later in the game, we learn that Sally being here is not entirely by chance. There is this mysterious old man with green glowing eyes who oddly knows a lot about this place and says he's been helping Emily stay alive. He says that he even somehow brought Sally here so she could save Emily because he says that she's not the one that's supposed to be here. But upon Sally's arrival, Emily is trying to avoid Sally more than the monsters getting herself caught. Emily is angry with Sally because to her, Sally is the biggest monster there is. The other kids were never her friends, but what hurt her most was the pain she felt when Sally betrayed her. Emily thought she'd be the only person to defend her, but she didn't. At this point, Emily gets captured by the colossal-sized monster and it gets taken away. And the mysterious old man shows us that the real Bethelwood is at the under end of the valley, and that the place that we're in is fake. Not that it's just an abandoned old town, but this place doesn't exist. This is just the domain's power, showing us a false world. The old man then tells us he knows where the entity took Emily, the remains of the old town. With his strange powers, the old man breaks the barrier for a moment to let Sally back into reality, to the underground mine where the remains of the original Bethelwood sits. This is the monster's den. Then we find Emily, we escape the big monster, and then you get one of the 3 endings credits roll. But you may be wondering why the old town's underground. Well, there are these details in multiple of the Wither books that tell us the whole story. From what we learn, the old town was doing well. There were many miners, lots of digging, and which led to the findings of red quartz. But then miners started feeling miserable, depressed, some even went missing. Then the rumors of the native people's legends and warnings followed, not only amongst the town, but some of the scientists studying the quartz. There was this one scientist in particular, one that was being seen by the psychiatrist brought in by the company to address the symptoms of depression. The scientist previously was eager to work on the project, but later became troubled by the things happening. More red quartz suddenly appearing after people went missing. The legends proving themselves to be real. It was too much for the man, so he tried to tell the company owner Tom to stop the mining. But as capitalism would have it, Tom and his investors thought there was too much to lose to stop over some people disappearing. So this scientist realized nothing was going to be done. More people were going to go missing. So the scientist took matters into his own hands. He set the town on fire. Many people were caught in the blaze, but we learned the scientist did not get burned. He was hiding. He heard all the screams and the cracks of the flames as he hid. This took a heavy toll on his already damaged mind. He fell into the mountain's domain before the flames could reach him. He does not resist. He knows what he did was for the best, but he knows he has to face his sins. This is how we get his book. Not only did the town suffer from fire, there was another Wither book that labeled Homeless. We learned that there was a landslide that led to the mine collapsing and the town fell in, erasing the town from existence. To avoid investigations, Tom called the event an accident and offered to build a new Bethelwood across the valley. Despite the town now out of the mountain's reach, there are sometimes people who find their way in and often don't come back. The mountain only waits for its next victim to stumble across its trap, waiting to eat the next sad soul. Well, though, viewers, I broke down the major parts of the lore of the game. I have scripts written for a future time, but until then, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and thank you for watching.